Hey guys, Sean here with a video, another video. It's been a while since I made a tutorial, but this isn't really a tutorial. I just wanted to talk about design in general. I get a lot of questions every day on how to become a designer and kind of like the process of going through school and whatnot, and what you should be ready for, and you know what you should work on more. And those of you who don't know, like I went through 4 years design school, graduated recently, now looking for a job. Worked at a couple different places, Dr. Print, Elite Gaming, KNC, American Emerald Group. Those are just some. Can't think of any others off the top of my head right now, but just kind of, I wanted to talk about like how do, what you need to do to become a designer and what you should know going into to make your decision if you want to do it or not. And one thing I think that's important for people who want to become a sports designer, um, and you're going into college. Don't like this is really just for anyone. Don't expect to do a lot of sports artwork in design school. It's actually one of like the least things you will end up doing for the most part. I mean, I know at least in my school that was the case. Maybe not all design schools, but sports isn't a very big thing when you're learning about design. Like in my college career, I did maybe one thing that involved sports design, and it was an infograph. Um, and wasn't it's not even part of my portfolio. It was just for one class. So I think one thing to know that's extremely important is that you're not going to get a lot of sports design in school, and probably in general. I mean, the chances of you getting a job at a with a sports team are just extremely unlikely, and I think that's important to know when you're trying to become a designer. Um, I mean, it's just extremely difficult to do unless you know someone or have connections. I mean, I know the other day I was looking around for possible openings, and they're zero in the NBA. If anyone is wondering, they have no design jobs open at this current time. Um, so I think like it's important that going into school, going to college, you're not going to work with uh, much sports artwork. You're going to be more involved with branding, logo design, even web design, advertising art. But most of that advertising art will be like products that you're trying to sell, and you're trying to draw your audience's attention. So I think it's important for many people to know that more than likely you will not be working with sports artwork in your university or college or wherever you choose to go away to school or go to school. And I think it's important to realize that it's not just about the digital side. I thought, when I went to school, I was like, oh, I'll just be working on a computer all the time in Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, Dreamweaver, and whatnot. And that is not the case at all. When you first get there, you actually have to know how to draw, know how to paint. You have to know the color wheel, complementary colors, primary colors, secondary colors, things like that before you even get to the next level. So there's so much more to it. You have to learn how to think conceptually. One thing that I never had done in my life, and until I got to school, and you had to learn how to do that. And really, what that is drawing out your design before you even bring it on a computer, like knowing what you're gonna do before you just start taking images and putting them all on a canvas. And a lot of that is extremely important, and it's not something everyone likes to do. And it's something, if you're going to get through school and you want to become a designer, you're going to have to learn. Uh, And I think a lot of people don't think like that. They don't want to do those type of things. I certainly didn't, but I accepted it and moved on and started doing what I had to do. Um, so I think those are like common things that people don't know. And one thing that's huge that I think I could ask anyone almost on Instagram besides, guys that I know have went through school, is you have to know how to talk about your artwork and like and what you've done. Like everyone's like, "Oh, that looks cool. That looks dope." And this is why I started the feedback thing on my website. And if you haven't entered that, you still can until tomorrow. Is people don't know how to talk about their artwork and why they did things the way they did. Like you have to explain every little detail of why you made something look the way it did. And I'm 95% sure that there are there's almost anyone I could ask, and they couldn't tell me in design terms why they made something look the way they did. And that is extremely important. And it's not like, oh, I wanted it to make him look like he was, I don't know, jumping off the planet Earth or something. No, like you have to speak in terms of negative and positive space, perspective, use design terms. You have to explain why you did that, why you used that typeface. You have to speak in terms like futurism, things more along the designing terms. And that was something I really struggled with too when I had my exit portfolio interview, which is another thing. You better be good at talking in front of large groups of people. 'Cause my portfolio exit was a 40-minute interview in front of 10 professionals. So you have to be able to talk and explain your artwork and explain what you're doing. And like here, I'm using a lot of negative space, which is there's a lot of white space in between my imagery and my text. So, there's a lot of people I'm sure I could ask them like what DPI means or what does kerning or X height mean, and they'd be like, "What are you even talking about?" And I think you have to there's so much more to design than just like, oh, I'm gonna make this look cool. I'm gonna make I'll think of one of my recent designs like Anthony Davis like blocking like comets hitting the earth. Like, yeah, like you have to have reasonings behind things like that, and you just can't be saying, oh, because I thought it'd look cool. So I think that's something that's important to understand. And if you can't explain why you did something, you probably should start thinking more along the lines of in design terms of why you're doing something the way you're doing it. And I think that's why this gets me under another point on the people on Instagram. You see a lot of people just copy other people's ideas and styles because it looks good, you know. So they like that style, but they couldn't explain why they did that style, and that's where this style creds bull crap comes in. And I was talking to another artist who's in school right now, and the whole design, like the whole style credits thing, is a bunch of bull crap. I'm sorry to like anyone that offends, or people who typically copy other people's styles, but like it is basically a way of politely saying I'm ripping you off, and I know I am. So I'm just gonna give you credit, even though I just ripped you the hell off. So I think that's something that really needs to change um, in the design community, and people have to think more conceptually and on their own, than rather than just looking at someone else's, taking their whole idea and just swapping out. Like, I mean, some people don't even swap out the player; they do the exact same thing. And it just, in the end, it makes you look bad and the person you copied. So I think you have to be more conscious of what you do and think more along the lines of being more creative and not just stealing someone else's idea. I mean, rarely, I think one or two times something of mine may have looked similar to someone else's, and the only ones I can think of are the ones that my superhero series, when I did the Human Torch and Silver Surfer, some people got mad at me because it looked kind of like collection of IVCs, but I had made sure they were different because I wanted to do these people. Just because superheroes doesn't mean I just copied his idea. It was not at all. I wanted to do superheroes, and I'm sure a million people have done superheroes even before him. So just be more careful about what you do, and use different imagery. Like, one thing I hate is when everyone uses the same image of a person, and I'm pretty sure it's because people just download PNGs off the internet, which is kind of cheesy. It's an easy way to get out of cropping out a player or cutting out a player. But don't like, I swear the style credits thing is just, I don't know. I think, I think this is mostly Instagram is full of people who haven't been to school and been through design school, don't understand that it really is just ripping someone else's idea off. And I think, getting back onto people who want to go to design school, I think another thing you have to understand is there's a very limited chance you get to work in the sports field. And I think, you have to understand there's a real possibility that you'll never work as a sports designer. And like myself, I'm okay with that. Like, I'm a web designer, I'm a logo designer. I have other things I can do. Like I said, in college, I barely did even sports design. I did this as a hobby till I was 17, 18 years old. I got to school, I didn't even touch another sports thing until this past year when I graduated. I was like, oh, I could start messing with sports designs again, since now I know Photoshop, I know how to design. And for many, I think that you have to come to that realization that you have to like design in general if you want to do it. You can't just go into it because you want to become a sports designer, because the chances of that happening are just so slim to none. It's not a very demanding. I mean, it's becoming more demanding, but it's not a guarantee that you get a job as a sports designer. Like I said, there's no openings in the NBA right now for any sports designers, and those are the aspirations of working for posterizers and STN Digital. I mean, you could always try to do that, but like I said, there's no guarantee. So you have to like designing in general if you want to do it. Don't just do it because you like to do sports artwork. Um, those are just important things to know and understand. At the end of the day, there's a good chance that you won't be able to do what you want to do. So those are all things you should consider before you obviously get into sports artwork, and I mean before you become a designer and go to school. But I hope you guys enjoyed my talk here, my little rant on kind of how to on what you should expect in design school, and how to get yourself more prepared for it and be more well-rounded is by working on more than just sports design, and create logos and whatnot. And there's ways to get yourself out there. But if anyone ever has any questions, you could always ask me. Like I said, I've been through school, so I know what it's like. I know what you have to be prepared for and what you don't need to worry as much about. But thanks, guys, for listening and watching. I didn't really work much on this year as like to, but it's difficult to do both sometimes. But thanks, guys, for watching, and hopefully I'll have a tutorial up soon. And enter my contest if you haven't already. The feedback contest on my website. Check it out, SeanDRiley.com/playersingreen.